We've looked at ghost notes, but what is another really important ingredient in our jazz bowing? Still keeping in mind that we're not using a lot of bow, we're using very slow bowing with very short span of our bow that's actually getting used. But this next ingredient is slurs. And we know slurs from classical and folk worlds, but in jazz they are mostly on the offbeats. They are on the notes that we were just accenting on the up bows. And those slurs give another ingredient that is a jazz ingredient, a syncopated ingredient. I'll show you the first slurred bowing, which uses one of the patterns we've just practiced, the potato pattern. So I'll just revisit the potato pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm doing a ghost noted version of the pattern. Now I'm going to do a slurred version of the pattern. And you're thinking, well, we've seen that before, but what's slurred about this? Well, the note in the middle, we're going to play 2 notes. So we're going to go like this. So we have 4 notes, and in the middle of those 4, the 2 and the 3 get slurred. And that sounds like this. And the pattern of the bow is the potato pattern. So you can do a lot of practicing this. I call this my jazz bowing, and you can play this on a scale. You can play it on an arpeggio. Anything like a melody. And the good thing about it is that it's against the beat. It's on the offbeat where the slur starts. What's really important when you're slurring, when you're doing our jazz bowing, you're slurring the offbeat notes, that you accent the beginning of your slur. And in the potato rhythm, that actually means you're doing, you're accenting potatoes, potatoes. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is all with a metronome, in my head anyway. I invite you to do that at home, and if you don't have a metronome, please go out and buy one or download the iPhone app, because it's really, really useful. But just to demonstrate, I'm going to do some with a live guitar backing. I'm so lucky. Here we go. 3, 4. And as you can hear, you're hearing the pulses in the guitar, and I'm going against the pulse with my slur, with my accented slur. Now I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to start walking a little bit with a scale. 3, 4. So you're getting 1 and 3 and 1 and. That's the rhythm. And that's the rhythm where your dancer, your swing dancer, will throw a kick in the air. It's really what makes the swing. And the slur is now making the swing because of the accent. It's starting on the offbeat and the accent is on the offbeat. I'll play you one more rhythm on that same drone that Dennis is playing, but now with arpeggios. 3, 4. And we will be talking more about arpeggios later, but they're basically the notes of the chord. It's a stack of thirds, and those are something you can practice when you're practicing a tune. When you practice them with your slurred bowing. So I've shown you one jazz bowing now with the slur on the 1 and the 3 and. There are other ways to slur, obviously, but the main principle is the same as the ghost note principle, that there has to be an offbeat element somewhere that's going to make some swing. So for instance, you could make this same bowing, but now start with a longer slur that's 3 notes. So you get this. So you have one slur on the beat, then another slur off beat. And the slur changes from beat to offbeat because you're slurring 3 notes. And that's an odd number. If you're playing numbers of 2, 4, 6 or 8, you'll always stay on the beat. But if you're playing 3 or 5, those kinds of patterns, then you go to the next, the offbeat. And that's what you do with a slur. You can start slurs on the beat as long as you make them 3 or 5. Here we go, once again, with maybe backing as well? Yeah, with backing. 3, 4. And I've made a little creative pattern where I started with a 3 and then lots of 2s, so it stayed offbeat. So this is, slurring is actually quite free, but there's one basic principle that you need to get offbeat at some stage for it to start swinging. And you don't forget the accent at the start of the slur. Now with slurs, the combinations, as you might imagine, they're endless because you can start with a 2-note slur, then a 3-note, then a 1, then a 4. The combination of slurred and non-slurred is actually what is giving your solo texture and jazz feel. I often get asked what I do with my slurs, and I actually have to confess, just like the great Stéphane Grappelli confessed when he was asked this question, I don't really think about it very much. I probably have slurring patterns where maybe if I change from a top to a bottom string, I'll do something to slur it or to not slur it. But it's something that I feel, and it's something that you have to start developing by listening to the jazz violinists, but also by listening to saxophone or trumpet players, because they are actually doing the same slurs. Even a pianist will be doing the same slurs. It's a different technique, but the result is the same. You're hearing notes that are bunched together and then a new set of notes with an accent. And usually that accent will be offbeat. So I'll give you another example of some slurs, and we'll do this on that C major blues that we did earlier. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Just an example of, on the moment, in the spur of the moment, I feel a kind of slur, I feel a kind of accent, and it basically makes the rhythm for me. So actually I'm feeling the rhythm in my head, and the slurs are the technical way of expressing that rhythm.